Disclaimer for any quality nerds out there. My webcam sucks. Frames were dropped in the recording of this video. Thank you. Are we live? Is this thing live? This is going to be a multi-part series of every film I watched in 2023. Serendipity. It's from 2001, I want to say, and it's not going up to 10. I would say Serendipity is one of those movies that's perfectly structured. These two people fall in love one night, never knowing each other's names, and then they leave notes to each other that maybe one day they might find each other again. And it's very cheesy, and John Cusack is the main character. There's some good cameos that really save the whole thing. Other than that, it's a very cheesy, basic rom-com from the early 2000s, and that has a certain comfort level to it. I would watch this movie again. So we're going to put Serendipity up above average, but it's not crazy. It's just above average. So let's do 6. All right, following it up, completely other side of the game, we got The King with Timothée Chalamet. And I'll tell you what, I doubted Timothée Chalamet before this movie. Maybe the standout thing with this movie is the structure. The thing I like so much about the structure of The King is that it's a rise. It's a steady rise. There's not really like a up and down of a normal film. Like, say, There Will Be Blood. There's a rise and a fall, and it's just your typical story arc. What I like about The King so much is that it's a rise to power, so he ends up on top, and it leaves you with wonder about where he might go. Timothée Chalamet did a fucking excellent job in this movie. He really had me thinking I was watching the real King Henry. 8 or 9 category. 9 out of 10. I thought the cinematography was great. It's not over the top. Wasn't overly sappy or modernized. We have Black Death with Sean Bean, and it's about the plague and people going out on the crusades. And I gotta be honest, this is one I fell asleep to. What's his name? Eddie Redmayne, and he's really boring. He looks like Simple Jack in the movie. He looks quite a lot like Simple Jack, and he's always very serious. I have a thing with serious movies that if they're not multi-layered, and it's just you're supposed to take this movie seriously, very easy to lose attention on that kind of thing. We're gonna put Black Death in the 2 to 3 range. I'd put it at 3 because I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I'm saying it was an unwatchable experience. Moving on, Nacho Libre. Now, I grew up with this movie, so I know all the references. I used to play the mini clip game. It's quite a bit of fun. You can upgrade all of your suits and wrestle at higher and higher levels. Nacho Libre, fun watch, very fun, colorful, good cinematography. Really, it's a decent comedy movie from the mid-2000s, and I can't put it anywhere other than 7. Should I order these in any way? Because we're skipping around like crazy. We went Serendipity, Black Death, Nacho Libre, Faust. Quite a good movie. Pause for just a second. This opening scene with the skeletons riding the horses into the town goes so hard. If you don't watch the movie, just check out this scene. This is very digestible in terms of it being a 1920s or 1930s movie. It's definitely ahead of the curve. Murnau is one of my favorite silent directors, and there's another one from this list that's going to show up later, Sunrise. Faust was great. It was a little slow sometimes, but the sequences with Mephisto and the clouds that roll over the city, I'm going to put that one at a solid 8. And but let's not waste any time with Sunrise, the other Murnau picture on this list. Sunrise is going straight to 10. It's going straight to 10 because before this movie, I had never seen silent films that were so modern, so expressive, and it really tells the story of 2 lovers who become estranged and then fall back in love. It has a good plot. It's not overly long. The storytelling, the visual storytelling, second to none. We have our first 10 with Sunrise, and we're going to go back down to Hellraiser 2. Now, I saw Hellraiser 1 for the first time in 2022, so that's why it's not on this list. I thought Hellraiser was incredible. It's one of the most horrifying, but also very fun, campy 80s movies I had ever seen. I'm not usually into the slasher gore thing, but I thought Hellraiser 1 did an excellent job of making it fun, which is pretty nice. Hellraiser 2, the whole movie is like people getting their skin ripped off, people screaming for mercy, and hard to follow. I had to watch this movie in like 15-minute chunks. I could not imagine when this movie came out trying to watch it in a theater. We're going to put Hellraiser 2 It has to be above average just because of what it accomplishes. Dude, the main villains in this movie are fucking crazy looking. I'm sure you've seen them before, but we have this scene of creating Pinhead in this movie where he gets all the nails hit in his head, and he's supposed to like the pain, but then when he's being created, he's like, oh, oh! He's like screaming every time they hit one into his head. That is a great piece of cinema. I respect that, and I would put Hellraiser 2 up with Serendipity for other reasons. It's above average. French Dispatch. Talk about a movie with quality, but without substance. Am I right? All the characters are like props, and the movie just insists on continuing, even though nothing is actually unfolding. We are being told a whole lot of things, but what we actually see, it's a concept piece. This is not a movie. Having said that, I think it's going to go on the 3. Wes Anderson has made
Moonrise Kingdom, Royal Tenenbaums,
much
Limited.
better movies. What the hell do we have here? What am I? Oh, Duck You Sucker. How could I forget? Duck You Sucker, also known as Fistful of Dynamite, which is after the Man with No Name trilogy by Sergio Leone. I get the feeling that he had creative drive to do something different than the very serious Man with No Name trilogy. So I think he went off in more of a comedic route, developed comedic route, where the first shot of the movie is an anthill, right? You're just seeing these ants crawl in and out of their hole, and then you just see a stream of fucking dehydrated piss knocking out all the ants. And then who's doing that? Some cowboy in the desert. And what's he doing? He's watching a stagecoach arrive, a stagecoach which he is going to rob. After that initial 4 or 5 shots, you're just in the movie, and it keeps unfolding. And there's revolutions, and there's rises and falls. Also, one of the greatest endings, the main character, the man with a fistful of dynamite, blows himself up. And then, while the dust is still in the air, you get the title card, The End. Honestly, one of the most exciting, fun, just epitome of movies I've ever seen. We are going to put it up in the S tier or the 10, for what it's worth. S tier is equivalent to 10 on this scale. We're moving on to a Burt Reynolds movie, and it's called Gator, right? All I really remember is that there's like a good guy and a bad guy. Burt Reynolds is the good guy, but he's also kind of a bad guy. He drinks and drives, and at one point he's trying to escape the police, and he gets in a boat, and he drives the boat around the bayou, and he jumps the boat a couple of times. It's kind of a kick-ass movie, but it's also kind of dated in some ways. And the ending of this movie, if I recall, the woman that he's with the whole movie proposes her love to him, and he drives off into the sunset all by himself. Probably a 6 out of 10. I feel like I'm being generous. This is truly a 5. Truly a 5. You know, it's not exceptional. It's just I've never seen another Burt Reynolds movie, but apparently this is what they're all like. So, incredible comedy movie from the 60s. We got It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, and has the funniest scene I've ever seen in a movie. No. Oh, we gotta say that for Dolomite. We have the second funniest scene in any movie I've ever seen. Several groups of strangers all come across the knowledge that there's some money buried on the other side of the country, and they have to get there before the other groups. It's like The Amazing Race. Each duo or trio makes their own like comedic thing, so you're basically watching 2 or 3 movies all at the same time, and it just cuts between them. I think this guy gets drunk and angry, and he's looking for somebody who's inside a gas station, and he just starts punching the door down, but the joke is that the whole building's made out of like styrofoam movie material. So he just punches the whole gas station down, and the walls fall in on him and shit. And it's just like so absurd, but so funny. Mad, 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 Mad World. This goes up in the 9s or 10s because it is such a quality movie. I can't give everything a 10. I mean, come on. But these... Okay, if I feel bad about that decision later, I'll adjust it. Moving on. Top Gun Maverick. Better than Top Gun. I saw both this year. Top Gun's coming up later. Maverick does a lot of things better than the original movie, one of which is the practical filmmaking. They actually put cameras up on fighter jets for this film, and they put cameras in the cockpit, and they just filmed it in a completely different style than the first one. The first one, there's literally shots where it's very close up and they're like shaking the camera to make it look like they're flying at 700 miles an hour. It looks phony. It looks very fake. And all the characters in that movie are like paper thin because it's the 80s. The second one had a lot of good things in it. There's two downsides. The enemy is unnamed in this movie, which is very strange. The scene where they're lost behind enemy lines and have to fly a Russian plane back to back home, a little unrealistic, obviously. A little bit of movie magic. That doesn't really excuse it. That's some shit. Having said that, the legacy moments in this film, seeing what's his name, Goose's son, develop as a character and see him kicked out of school and then coming back in, playing the same songs that his dad would play on the piano. That's genuinely that pulls at my heartstrings. That's a very sweet character development. Val Kilmer steals the fucking show, barely saying one sentence in the movie. He types it out because of his cancer, and just seeing what he types out on the screen and understanding that that's how that character needs to communicate. It's very powerful. It's a 8 to a 9, like a great action feel-good movie. Ooh. Yeah, this is 9 territory. I was about to put it in 8, and then I honestly don't know if Faust should be in 8. I think Faust should be in like 7, so that's settled. The Beguiled. Best Sofia Coppola movie that I've seen. Lost in Translation was good, but I watched that last year. Honestly, I don't remember enough about this movie. It was not memorable. Starsky and Hutch. This was a funny one. This is a funny, very modern, very self-aware movie. It reminded me of Walk Hard, and it also reminded me of that movie from recently, The Nice Guys, they're both just like very self-aware, fun comedy movies that kind of poke fun at the genre that they're depicting. Owen Wilson and Ben Stiller have like incredible chemistry, and I think they've probably done other movies together. Like, it was good, but I didn't remember a lot.
Pause the video. I'm starting to notice a trend. I can't remember anything.
I remember laughing though. 6. I got something in my eye, guys. I'm not gonna make it. This is like terminal. This is terminal. Poseidon with Bill Pullman. Oh my god! I think I watched this on Stars or like at my parents' house or something. I barely remember this movie. I think it was Poseidon. Yeah, the boat goes down. Spoiler alert, the boat goes down. Completely forgettable. I think we're gonna give this one 2. Well, no, because 2 is like offensive. So completely forgettable falls into the 3-4 category. 2 is like, we're talking like offensively bad. 1 is like every moment is a struggle. 0 is somehow worse than that. Kentucky Fried Movie. Very funny, very self-aware, very zany, and just great movie. I liked how it played with all aspects of narrative, almost in like a Monty Python kind of way. Totally off the wall, totally funny, totally holds up. Kentucky Fried Movie. Very good stuff. I was hovering over 2. So we're gonna give this one a 7. Ooh, All Quiet on the Western Front. We have our first 8 here. So we read this book in high school. To see it turned into a movie so faithfully is pretty incredible. The first time they see the tanks, oh my god, the first time they see the tanks. They haven't eaten in days. They are behind enemy lines, and they make it to an enemy bunker.
Yeah, I don't know why I described this part so poorly. The tanks are coming through the mustard gas, and they look enormous and very intimidating. Thank you.
I mean, it's just unstoppable. So, excellent filmmaking throughout. It's a little bit of a bummer, the note that it ends on, but it's okay. But I just gotta say, this movie did everything right that 1917 did wrong. Lord of the Rings trilogy, how can I forget? I just got a icon for the 3 movies because I watched them all in the same day, and I kind of consider it one long story. I could see the argument for having it be 3 different movies of varying quality, but to me it's one big story. Or like all trilogies, the second film drags on a little bit. Lord of the Rings is an incredible movie. It's the peak of sword and sorcery. It's barely even sword and sorcery because it's so fucking based. It's like a different type of movie altogether. Basically, they threw a lot of money at this movie and it turned out perfectly. So, props to Peter Jackson. Oh, is it 10 though? I think it is 10. I mean, what's holding it back from being a 10? Rings of Power sucked ass, and that's all I'll say about that. Rings of Power sucked ass. I'm not a, it's the hipster in me that says I can't put Lord of the Rings at the 10 because everybody likes that movie. I like it too. I was just late to the game, but I do like it, and it deserves to be up there. We're gonna move on to Phase 4, which is I was drawn to this movie just purely based off the cinematography. There are YouTubers who put together best shots in movies, and I think in quite a few of those videos I've seen clips from this movie Phase 4. Just really gorgeous close-up shots of like ants. If you watch the movie, you should know that that's basically where the good stuff ends. The plot is not super good, and it's mostly about the photography. It's like an experimental film. The concept is that ants will take over the world, and spoiler alert, ants take over the world. And there's not much after that because it's an ant world. So, and movies that are beautiful but of no substance really should be lower than neutral. So we're gonna put Phase 4 at 4. Okay, we're gonna knock out a few here. Some of the shittiest movies of all time. The Tiger of Eshnapur. Woo! Fritz Lang. I have not seen M. I've heard M is good. And I've tried to watch Metropolis like 6 times. And I know everyone thinks it's a great movie, but it's very boring to me. Having said that, once Fritz Lang got his hands on color and sound, his movies were never the same. This is straight up 50s garbage that should be forgotten as quickly as possible. I think we're giving that one a 1. Ooh. No, Tiger of Eshnapur has to go in 2 because Scooby-Doo 2 has to go in 1. Scooby-Doo 2 was a very disappointing sequel that I watched this year. I think I might have laughed out of disbelief a few times. Not trying to sound pretentious. I loved the first Scooby-Doo movie. The first Scooby-Doo movie is incredible. Something about Scooby-Doo 2 with the monsters that are unleashed in the museum and everything. Just the way that they use CGI and the acting and the sexualization of Velma, all very strange choices in this movie that I just can't vibe with. And that's all there is to say. Onto Nope, Jordan Peele's Nope. This was a very fun and fascinating movie throughout. I was wondering, how is this gonna add up? How is this gonna all come together? And there are parts of the movie, honestly, that don't come together, such as the whole ape sequence. But it's okay that it doesn't come together because I think it's like a metaphor and it's just another short story that builds into the longer story. I can summarize my thoughts by saying the movie was fascinating throughout, and I don't think I need to watch it again, but it had some incredible sequences in there. It's up there with Get Out, and it was thrilling, and it was intriguing, and it was intelligent, and definitely going to put it up there in the 7s. Favorable, and memorable. The Menu. Here we go. Okay. I don't know if I can summarize all my thoughts on this movie. It's one of those movies where it just plays everything on the nose from the get-go, and everything is like regimented out in the most predictable way possible. From the first scene, you know that it's a uneven dynamic between the boyfriend and the girlfriend, that he's like obsessed with the food and that she could care less and that maybe even was hired to go there. And yeah, clearly she's not going to play along with the rich people's game, and the chef is the epitome of the rich people's game. The whole scene with her like, I'm still hungry, I want a cheeseburger. It's like, it's just revealing that I have like actual disdain for this movie, and we're going to put it down in the 2s, which is offensively bad and anti-cinema. Whoa. Hands up. Not anti-cinema. I didn't mean that. Okay, back up. I always want to do rapid fire, but I actually don't think I have the brain capacity for that. Damn, okay, the Infernal Cauldron. We can do this one because it's totally forgettable garbage from like 1902. And a guy who's painted green throws two women who are painted yellow into a cauldron where they burst into flames. And that's it. It's a 2 minute short. I'm sure it was cool at the time. It's not harmful in any way. It's like nothing. So I'm gonna put it at 5. Okay, we're gonna pause the recording, everybody.
Hello, friends. I hope you liked that video. If you did, I have good news for you. There will be 2 more parts coming out on these 75 titles. So this is the first 25. We got 2 more to go. Then there might even be a special epilogue